You know, Game of Thrones Season 8 is one of those things that is highly contentious. Very highly contentious. In fact, I would argue I'm one of the few people on YouTube that will be honest and open about the fact that I enjoyed Season 8. But one of the things that I've said, and that got me in some trouble with some people, is that I've always felt that George R.R. Martin was to blame for how the last couple seasons turned out. Everyone blames David Weiss and DB Benioff, or DB Weiss and David Benioff. Everyone blames Dan and Dave because they were the writers. And that's true. They were the showrunners, they were the writers, and they were the ones in charge and overseeing everything. But as I always said, George left them hanging. He did. He left them hanging. He did not give them the proper material needed in order to deliver a solid finale. And I put all the blame for how the story turned out on him. I do. I really do. And people have not agreed with me. But I just have to say it like this. I have to put it out there. I have to, when I see this particular headline here, George R.R. Martin says HBO's Game of Thrones wasn't very good for me. All I can say is I fucking called it. I called it. He's throwing them under the bus. These dudes who made him one of the most popular, well-known people on the planet. I know where is throwing them under the bus because he didn't do his job, because he didn't uphold his end of the bargain. And I said that time and time again, but no, Matt don't know what he's talking about. Game of Thrones season 8 was crap. No, not really. Could have been better. I will admit to that. Could have been better. But at the end of the day, guys, no. A lot of this was his fault because this was his story and he failed to finish it. Robert Jordan died, sadly, before the last couple books in the series came out. But he had already plotted out everything meticulously and handpicked a writer to come on in, Brandon Sanderson, to come on in and to finish it up. And while the voice was different and the fans noticed that, they still felt at the end of the day they got what they wanted. But let's look into the article here. The rancorous response to the series finale of HBO's Game of Thrones continues to generate chatter 3 months later. And author George R.R. Martin still has to answer to fans. Yeah, for his massive screw-up here. In an interview with The Guardian, the novelist again says that he is sticking to his original plan for the remaining books in the series, stressing that the controversial conclusion in the show will have no effect on what he's writing, and whatever that is remains shrouded in mystery. Yeah. So the ending that he told Dan and Dave, right? The ending that he gave to Dan and Dave, the ending that he provided to Dan and Dave is probably going to change in the book. Because fans were like, Bran? Even I was like, I get it. I kind of like it. But when he was all like, oh, why do you think I made this journey? I was like, oh, F you, Bran. That I didn't care for, I will admit. Now, he says here, you can't please everybody, so you got to please yourself. How about you? Yeah, you can't. It's true. You can't please everybody. That's 100% accurate. But at the same time, George, you had a job to do. And he goes, you can't please everyone. You got to please yourself. He says that he's divorced himself from the ire sparked by the finale, saying, I took myself out of all that. Yeah, by not completing it. Going on to say here that some of the theories are right and some of the theories are wrong, Martin said in response to fan speculation about what's to come in the books. They'll find out when I finish. Yeah, they'll find out when he finishes. Just like they were supposed to find out years ago when he was on all those Tonight shows and he was going and doing all those events and those press things and everything else, signing the autographs, kissing the babies, autographing other stuff. And everyone's like, what's going to happen in the last book? And he's like, you got to wait to find out. And yeah, then the show caught up to him and he was like, crap. Because this was his fault. This was 100% his fault in not completing his task. I don't think we'd be having these conversations. There would be this debate over Game of Thrones Season 8 if he would have actually finished his job. But again, he goes and plays the victim here. And this is what he's playing the victim 100%. Martin also seems pretty bummed about how the show has affected his personal life, saying that he misses the old days when he was able to exist more anonymously. I can't go into a bookstore anymore. That used to be my favorite thing to do in the world. To go in and wander from stack to stack, take down some books, read a little, leave with a big stack of things I'd never heard of when I came in. Now when I go to a bookstore, I get recognized within 10 minutes and there's a crowd around me. So you gain a lot, but you lose things. And you know what? Listen, I get that. Okay. I'm not like a heartless son of a bitch on this particular topic. I get it. I do. You know, I've been out with my family and people have come up and like gotten autographs and pictures. I get that. You know, like there's a dude who came up to me in a mall and he was like visibly shaking. He was like so nervous to say hi. You know, I get it. And I'm kind of tooting my own horn a little bit here too. But the point is, like, I get that. But we're not talking about that. You wanted to be an anonymous writer, fine. But you still went out there and did the press tours. You still went out and put your face and your name on so many things. People knew who you were. That did not change. So yes, you gain a lot and you do lose a couple things, and that part might suck, but it's not like you haven't had years to deal with it. He says this. I don't want to go to a party where an unending succession of people want to take selfies with me, because that's not fun in the way that it was in the old days. That's work. Yeah, because you're a celebrity, George. You are a celebrity. Hate to break it to you, buddy. You're a celebrity. That, in essence, is somewhat expected when you go out to these events. Now, he did say that the show's end was a liberation. I don't think the series was very good for me, he said. The very thing that should have speeded me up actually slowed me down. Every day I sat down to write, and even if I had a good day, I'd feel terrible because I was thinking, my God, I have to finish the book. I've only written 4 pages when I should have written 40. And I get that. I do. I do get that. I do get that entirely. Okay, fine. You know, your motivation's a thing. There's days I crank out 10 videos and I feel great. You know, I'm like, I was productive today. And there's days I can't get one out of me. I understand that. But that didn't stop you from doing Night Flyers, the TV show, the 1-season show on Sci-Fi. It didn't stop you from working with From Software to develop a video game. It didn't stop you from writing your goddamn blog posts all the time. There were so many things that were distracting George R.R. Martin that he is now tossing Dan and Dave under the bus, basically, and acting like none of this is his fault. Like, act like none of this is his fault. This is the season 8 Game of Thrones Rotten Tomato score, with a 58% on Tomato Meter from 10 different critics, which isn't really much, but yeah, I think that's pretty accurate from what their critics would say. And the audience score of 12,000 with a 32%, saying Game of Thrones final season shortchanges the women of Westeros, sacrificing satisfying character arcs for spectacular set pieces and its mad dash to the finish line. And you know what? They're not entirely wrong with that. They're not entirely wrong with that. But that mad dash to the finish line was the ending that Dan and David set. Could they have taken more time with it? Yeah, 100%. Okay, and I'm not going to argue against that. But they also probably got to a point where they just needed to finish this thing. And they had to set that hard limit on themselves in order to get it done. Because when you've got a guy who is playing the writer without actually writing and finishing his obligations to make sure that this cultural phenomenon that people love and they get into massive fights over ends up ending the way that it ended because you didn't finish your job. And the dudes who were tasked with trying to finish it dropped out of going to Comic-Con because they didn't want to deal with the damn backlash. And I don't blame them. You get very little sympathy from me, George. You get very little sympathy from me at all. And you shouldn't get sympathy from anybody. You had a simple job. It was to finish your story. And you failed to do it. And at the end of the day, you throw this show under the bus. And you throw the writers under the bus. You throw the 2 guys who brought you all the fame and fortune in the world under the bus. And let them be left holding the bag because you couldn't stop taking selfies with people and going on talk shows and working on other projects. You kept saying for years, oh, I don't see the train on the horizon, but I feel the rumbling on the tracks, so that you still don't finish the damn book. We wouldn't be having these conversations if you would have done your goddamn job.